What's up, fragrant family? This is Tyler with Simply Fragrances, and today I'm bringing you a very special video. At least it's going to be special to me because these are some of the colognes that really have made a huge impact on my life for one reason or another, and a lot of these have a very special place in my heart. And so a lot of these fragrances, in fact all of these fragrances, are the ones that have really shaped me and really brought about this passion that I have for fragrances. I've always really, even since I was younger, just really enjoyed smelling good, and these have, just played a big part in my life, and they have really shaped that passion that I have. So really excited to bring this to you. Some of these, I might get emotional on. I don't know. I know that fragrances oftentimes do bring up memories, and they put you in a particular time, that put you in a particular place around particular people, and that's why fragrances to me are so very special, because they can honestly do things that a lot of things can't. They can make you feel a certain way. They can almost put you in this exact spot of where you were at 10, 15, 20 years ago, however long it's been, and some of these, man, these are from whenever I was a really, really young kid, and I can still remember the feelings. Like, it brings back that emotion, it brings back that person, and it makes me think of, that person, and that's how I remembered them. So this is very special to me, and I'm super excited to bring this to you guys. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm gonna start with the very first fragrance I ever remember smelling, like vividly remember smelling, and this is honestly not a man's fragrance. This is a woman's fragrance, and this is something that is very special to me because this is what my mom wore whenever I was growing up. And my mom, she raised me by herself until I was about six and a half years old, and she did what she could. We didn't have a lot, but never went hungry, and she did what she was able to for me. And so one of the fragrances that she wore, this was her only one, and it was something that she got at Christmas time. She got it once a year, and this was very special to her, and this is how I remember my mom. This is Sunflowers by Elizabeth Aldrin. Yeah, Elizabeth Aldrin. This stuff is probably a staple in a lot of middle-aged women and above. This stuff came out, I honestly don't know when it came out, but in the 90s, I know that when my mom wore this, man, this just makes me think of my mom. This is so awesome. I just remember, man, being in a little apartment on the kind of north side of Springfield, Missouri, where I'm from. It's off of Grand. I know, a lot of you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but if anyone local is watching this, it's off of Grand in Kansas, and I just remember that smell, that little tiny apartment we had, just me and my mom. I remember her making dinner and, coming straight home from work. I just got off school, went to my grandma's. She watched me. My mom came and picked me up. She would go shower, put this on, and make dinner. She just wanted to wear it because she loved fragrances. And so as she's cooking dinner, I can remember me just being pretty much at her knee height, and she's either making SpaghettiOs, ramen noodles, something like that, something cheap, but she always smelled like this, and this is what makes me think of my mom. And this honestly brings me back to when I was about 4 years old, 5 years old, somewhere in there. And this one I'm actually gonna buy for my collection. I'll probably get my mom a bottle, but I'm gonna have this for my collection just because it's that special to me. All right, moving forward to the next fragrance I remember smelling, and this was because we actually lived with my grandparents for a little bit before my mom got her own place, and this is what my grandpa smelled like. And my grandpa was a very big person in my life. He kind of helped show me what a man was supposed to be until my mom and my stepdad. But for the first six and a half years of my life, my grandpa was the only person that I knew, and we went fishing, we went camping, we were very close, we did everything together. And this is Cody Wild Musk. This is what he wore, and this is what makes me think of him. Yeah, that's my grandpa right there. This is good stuff, guys. If you like musky manly man colognes, this is something to reach for, honestly. If maybe you remember your grandpa wearing this, or your father, or someone in your family who's a little bit older wearing this. This is cheap. You can get this at Walmart. I think you can get this off Amazon for like $10, something like that. In remembrance of my grandfather. I called him Papa. Yeah, that's him right there. I remember him waking up in the morning, he would shower, he would shave, and then he'd spray this on before he went to work, and you can just smell it as he's walking by, and it's a very strong fragrance, honestly. And like I said, my grandpa was very important to me, and tragically, he actually took his life whenever I was in the 8th grade, and that's just something that's really affected me. And I do plan on getting this for my own collection, just in remembrance of him. And man, it's just whenever I smell this, I just remember specifically those mornings he would wake up. He had to be at work at 6 o'clock, so he would wake up about 4:30 in the morning, turn a coffee pot on, and just kind of sit in the dark while drinking his coffee and smoking a cigarette. And oftentimes I would wake up just to go spend time with him, and just remember those conversations we had, and it's very near and dear to my heart. So Cody Wild Musk. All right, the next fragrance I specifically remember is one that I just recently rediscovered, and this is super exciting for me. So as I said, my mom raised me by herself until I was about 6.5 years old. Then she met my stepdad, who I just call my dad, and he had a cologne in his truck that spilled. And whenever he would go pick my mom up for a date, sometimes I would get to go with him, and that was really special for me because I never had a father figure in my life until then, other than my grandpa, but never had that someone I could call dad or father, that type of person. And sometimes I get to go with him. So I remember one time specifically, we were cruising down it's a road called Kearney Street here in Springfield, and we went and got ice cream. Well, he opened up his little compartment in his truck. It's a little thing that sits down in the middle seat. You can pull it up, and it makes that seat. Well, he had to look for something. I forgot what he was looking for. And keep in mind, I'm like 6.5, 7 years old. So this is 21 years ago for me. And he opened this thing up, and I smelled this smell, and I said, "Wow, what's that smell? It smells really good." And this is a young kid saying this. And he goes, "Oh yeah, my cologne had spilt in there a while back, and just haven't got a new one." And I was like, "Oh, well, what is that? I like that. Can I have some?" Something along that lines. And I just, for whatever reason, remember him saying the name of the cologne was called Red. And so I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, years and years go by, and I go to my buddy's house to stay the night, and his brother had something on his dresser, and it said Red. And I thought, oh, well, this is that same cologne. Well, it turns out it was Ellis Red 360, and it wasn't the cologne. It still smelled good. If you haven't heard of it, it's kind of a Acqua di Jour, however you want to say it, by Armani Code fragrance. I like it. I think it smells pretty similar, but I digress. So for years and years and years, I just, haven't thought about it, and then for whatever reason one day I just thought about it. I was like, man, I kind of miss that old smell. It's like this old woody, musky, kind of manly man smell. And I was in the cologne store, actually where I'm at right now, and I was walking by, just kind of browsing through, and I saw this thing that said Red. I was like, no way, this can't be it. And sure enough, guys, on the shelf was this. This is Red. I don't know if you can see it right there. And it's by, I believe, Giorgio Beverly Hills. And so here's a little box that it comes in. Maybe you guys wore this back in the day. Maybe your pops wore it. Maybe your grandfather, uncle, someone like that had wore it. But whenever I saw that, I was like, there is absolutely no way that this cologne I smelled 21 years ago, and honestly, it's still in his truck, which is kind of crazy. You can still smell it in there. But sure enough, man, this stuff is just like almost kind of like a woody, musky, I wouldn't say fougere, but it kind of gives that gentleman type fragrance vibe. And this stuff reminds me of my old man. It's good stuff. Honestly, not really for like younger generation. I would say probably, I'm 28. I'm gonna get me a bottle, see what it does. So I would say 28 and above is what I would recommend. I don't recommend it in your 20s or teens, anything like that. It's very kind of a manly man smell. So really excited that I found that, and that just makes me think of my dad and the very first smell that I ever kind of remember him smelling like, or at least his truck. So the next one. This one is going to be also in remembrance of my father, my stepdad, my dad. And this one, you've probably wore it, your dad's probably wore it, your brother, your uncle, someone in your family has probably worn this, and this is one of his favorites. And this reminds me of whenever my mom and dad, they would go on a date. My mom would smell like sunflowers. My dad, he'd bust this bad boy out. Yes, this is Dior Noir. And man, this is a staple in the fragrance community. If you haven't smelled it, like, this is 1980s in a bottle, honestly. Like, this smells like the 80s and early 90s. It's kind of a woody, spicy, like a little bit of fresh, not like citrusy fresh, but just this like really dated cologne. And it smells good, don't get me wrong, I love it. And it makes me think of my dad, and whenever they would go on date nights, he would bust out Dior Noir, because that was what he could afford, and that was his special fragrance. And so I'm gonna get myself a bottle. Surprisingly, it's still kind of not really expensive, but I mean, it's like in the $30, $35, $40 range, you know, even on Amazon and fragrance.net, places like that. So it still lives up to its hype, apparently. So Dior Noir. All right, and then this next one, this is the one that set me in motion. This is the one that started the trend, that started the passion, that started the obsession, so to speak, you know, because all these other people, they have, you know, they have their own smells, that, you know, they make me think of them, or that's what they smell like. This was the first cologne that I ever got. I felt like $1 million, guys. I felt like the king of the world, and you're gonna laugh when you see what it is, but I felt so special. I was in 4th grade, and my best friend, who is now wife, her dad had gifted me this. We had went to church, and you know, me and my best friend's wife, we were good buddies, and me and her brother, we were good friends. We played basketball and stuff like that together. And her dad had gotten this cologne, and he really didn't like it, and for whatever reason or another, he just gave it to me. And I thought, what? That's weird. And so I got this in the 4th grade, and this is what started it all. Nautica the original. Yeah, this bad boy right here. I don't know what it is, guys, but whenever this first came out, it wasn't a little bit of a darker green bottle, but the smell is pretty much still the same. This is the original Nautica, and there is a blue one. This is the green one. Like I said, it was in a bit of more of a darker kind of turquoise bottle whenever this first came out. And for whatever reason, this, man, I thought I was the king of the world. I would go into elementary school, probably the only kid wearing cologne, and you know, my teachers would say, "Oh, Tyler, you smell so good today. What is that?" And I'd say, "Oh, this is Nautica." And back then, Nautica, if you guys are, you know, over the age of, you know, 20, 21, 25, in that range, you guys know that back in the 90s, man, Nautica was the stuff. They had the clothes, they had the shoes, they had, you know, the cologne, they had it going. Nautica was a very big brand back in the mid 90s. And so whenever I was in middle school, man, I just thought that I was something special. So from that moment on, I was hooked, and I loved getting compliments. I loved smelling good. I loved just, you know, feeling important. And, you know, growing up in the country, you know, we weren't super poor, but we also weren't well off. And so to have something that, you know, made me feel important, man, it was really special to me. So Nautica Original, this stuff is what started the obsession. All right, the next one on the list, this one takes me right back to middle school, because I did wear Nautica for quite a while, and then I discovered this. He was my favorite basketball player. You guys probably already know what I'm talking about, but this is middle school, like 6th grade up until probably 8th grade. This was my jam, man. I wore this stuff all the time. I loved it because I loved the basketball player. You probably know what I'm talking about. This is Michael Jordan. This is not the one that I needed. The one that I needed wasn't here, but I still wanted to include this. But it's the Michael Jordan, the cologne. The one that I'm talking about has like a little circle, like a basketball in the middle. But this smells sort of kind of close to it, not exactly the same, but this is Michael Jordan cologne. This is what I wore back in middle school from like 6th grade up until 8th grade, and man, I loved it. I thought it was just hot stuff. I smelled like Michael Jordan, you know, like, I don't know why, but I really enjoyed it. And I got a lot of compliments off of it, honestly. For someone in middle school, like, wearing cologne, I was often told that I smelled really good. So I thought that was really cool. So anyways, Michael Jordan cologne is what I wore a lot back in middle school. Now the next one, this one takes me right back to like freshman year of high school. Man, I thought that this stuff smelled so good. My mom, she had told me about it because she said that one of her coworkers wears it and she loves it. And it's been out for a while, and it came out in the 1980s. So it does kind of have that vibe, but I don't think it honestly smells dated. I just think it smells really clean, crisp, and clear. And you guys might know what I'm talking about. It comes in a dark blue bottle. Smells like clean water. Boom. Dab it off, cool water. This stuff, man, I love this stuff. Like, I honestly really enjoy this stuff. And this might be a cardinal sin in the fragrance community, but I like this better than Trey New Weed. And honestly, I think I like this better than Green Irish Tweed. Not because of, you know, any notes or anything like that, but just the sentimental value that this has to me. This was what I wore my freshman year and sophomore year of high school, and it was something that I thought made me smell clean and fresh. I was really into like clean and kind of aquatic vibes and, you know, all that good stuff. And so this one, I thought, man, I was the man. I smelled clean, I smelled fresh. A lot of the teachers knew exactly what I was wearing because it came out in the 80s, and they're like, man, what are you doing wearing Cool Water? How do you even know about this? And I was like, because I'm the man, guys. I know stuff. So it really boosted my confidence up, and I just thought it smelled super good. So this takes me right back to high school, freshman and sophomore year. Now, for my junior and senior year, I kind of had known about this for a little bit, never really paid much attention to it. My cousin was actually the one that told me about it, and she says, hey, my boyfriend wears this, you should give it a shot, see if you like it. And so my sophomore year, I went ahead and picked up a bottle. I did get it at Walmart, and I didn't know, you know, that anything like that could come from Walmart. So whenever I got this, I smelled it and I was hooked instantly. And I kid you not, the compliments that I got off of this, literally I shared, I was super close to a guy, you know, our lockers, because our names ended with P. His locker was right next to mine. And finally, I think it was maybe halfway through sophomore year, he's like, dude, I don't mean to be gay. I ain't trying to be homo or anything like that. But man, you always smell good. What are you wearing? And what I was wearing is Curve. I don't know if this is the original or not, but I think it is. This is just the golden bottle Curve. It's what I call it. It's like a golden kind of greeny tint bottle. And this was what I wore back in sophomore year up until senior year. And I thought, this stuff just smells amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and get a test strip real quick because I love this stuff. Make sure it's not sprayed on. Yeah, guys, this is high school. Man, some of the best years of my life were in high school too. Man, this is good stuff. You know, I wore this when I went to take my driver's test. I wore this when I got my license. I wore this for prom. I wore this for my girlfriend at the time, her prom. I got so many compliments. I wore this to church. I was known as the kid that always smelled good at church. Like, and this honestly, for whatever reason, it fills a room. Like, I don't know if they've reformulated it or not, because I don't think it's as strong as it used to be. Just even off of this little tester here, I don't think it's what it used to be. But man, it does smell good. It's like, it's kind of its own unique fragrance. I don't know anything else that really smells like it. It's a little spicy, a little fresh. I don't want to say there's like tobacco in there, because I don't think it is, but it's like this weird, like freshly dark, like not dark as in heavy, but like just this kind of more well-rounded, freshly spicy, dark fragrance. And so anyways, Curve was what I wore my junior and senior year in high school, not sophomore. So junior, senior year, wore it to prom, wore it all the time, got a lot of compliments. And you know, after that, I think my next fragrance was gonna be, hey guys, so on this next one, sorry, I actually had to wait until I got back to my house to do this one, just because I thought that he had it, but he actually didn't. So, but this one really did play a super huge role in my life. It was my first big boy cologne. It's you know, at least at the time, that's what I thought a big boy cologne was, and it's a one that I got whenever I first moved out of my house, my parents' house. Whenever I got my own place, you know, I did have roommates, but it was my own place outside of my parents. I got my first real job. I got my first car, my first phone, and it was just a time that was a really pivotal time in my life where I was becoming a young man and, you know, moving up into adulthood. And this one is Versace Woman Fresh. This stuff is so special to me, guys. This is just amazing. It's fresh, it's citrusy, it's got a little bit of a spicy note because of the pink pepper in there. It uses a star fruit note, and it's just amazing stuff. And man, guys, whenever I first got this, I went to Dillard's, paid retail for it because I didn't know anything about discounted sites or anything like that. And guys, I just thought I was the man. I thought I was a stud. I thought that, man, girls are gonna be on me and everything like that. And you know, I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's Versace Man Fresh. So, but still, this is a staple in people's collections, and this is a staple of mine. It's always gonna be in there, and it brings me right back to those times whenever, you know, I was becoming a young man, whenever I was discovering who I was gonna be, and it just brings me back to a really, really good point in my life where I was with really good roommates. They really helped shape me and my relationship with God, and it was just a really special time in my life, and this brings me right back to it. So Versace Woman Fresh definitely had to be on there. So